de FAS. Es cátedra, también es de comité de admisiones, comité de currículo de grado y forma muchos comités además. Esta conferencia magistral se tendrá en diferentes momentos para que sea posible traducir en español. Será una conferencia de 50 minutos y un espacio de 10 minutos para preguntas. Cuando la conferencia tenga 1 minuto para recorrer, levantaré la mano haciendo saber al orador que su tiempo está a punto de terminar. No habrá interrupciones durante los 50 minutos. Gracias. Dr. Boujaoude, could you begin, please?
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Wooten. And thank you for inviting me to give this presentation in your conference. Thanks to Jim French, who is with us, who introduced me to you. I'm really glad that I'm able to be with you tonight for me and during the day for you, because it's already 8:30 at night here in Lebanon. Can I share my screen, please?
Yes, sir. Go ahead. Se va a compartir pantalla.
Okay, the title of the presentation is Engaging Learners Through Online Tools. And you know, the reason why I'm presenting this, and I presented a version of it here in Beirut, is that there was a problem that our teachers faced here at the university level of engaging students in their lessons. So students were sitting behind their computers and they did not know what to do so that they could engage them. So I gave this, it's really a form of a workshop. Now, the description, the purpose of this workshop is to demonstrate several interactive digital tools, all everywhere, Google Forms, Padlet, ScreencastoMatic, that can augment, they can increase student engagement when using Zoom. And if you don't use Zoom, they can be used in other like WebEx and other types of systems. Now, the workshop embeds these tools within a technology-enhanced interactive lecturing and classroom discussion approaches. So the focus of this presentation is on interactive lecturing and classroom discussions that encourage students to participate in meaningful activities that enhance their learning. So the whole idea is that it's going to be on interactive lecturing, but how do you use the tools to engage students? Because in regular lessons, you can do an interactive lecture when the students are there, but sometimes it's difficult to do it when you're online. Now, I wanted to demonstrate how you can make the lesson interactive. I don't know if you can answer this question. I'm going to use poll everywhere. If only a few of you can answer, it can demonstrate the way this tool works. So now the question is, what problems do you face when teaching large classes online? Can you translate the question, Dr. Wooten?
Yes, sir. El doctor Boujaoude está preguntando a nosotros que qué problemas enfrentamos en dar clases en línea.
Now,
¿Alguien le gustaría responder?
Yeah. Now you see the up here. You see the link. If you copy this link. If you copy this link and put it in your computer or in your phone, you'll get to answer this question, and I can see your answers. You know, I can also, so it is Poll, POLLEV.com
Okay, you hold on just a second.
/
Just a minute, let me let them know. Dice el doctor Boujaoude, si lo puedes entrar a pollev.com. Y en esto es una herramienta que lo pueden usar en sus clases en línea. Aquí es donde ustedes lo pueden ver, él puede ver las respuestas como docente y donde los alumnos también se pueden trabajar. Entonces, en ese momento, si ustedes tienen la facilidad, si lo pueden abrir, este link, por favor. Okay, doctor.
Yeah, so now I activated it. When you get this, open it, you answer the question, just answer by anything that you want to answer. I'm gonna see your answers here in this on the screen, and you can see them as well. But let me see if people have already.
Okay.
Did anybody? Can you use it, for example, Dr. Wooten, just to demonstrate how it works?
Yes, I'm waiting for the people to show in. Your link has already been added to our chat, so they are opening it right now. There was a little slowness in the internet, so they're trying to get in as we speak.
Okay.
Okay. Pide el doctor de nuevo si la pueden intentar. El link está en el chat de nosotros.
Maybe the links are not that good, you think?
No, it would just be the velocity of the internet. If it's a little bit slow, like sometimes during these peak hours, it's a little slower and hard to get in.
Yeah. Were you able to open the link yourself? I'm starting to get answers.
There you go. Thank you. Como lo ven ustedes entrando ese tipo de herramienta que el doctor Boujaoude nos presente, puede ver que los docentes podemos hacer preguntas a nuestros alumnos y al mismo tiempo pueden responder y lo hace que es interactivo. Okay, sir.
Yeah, okay. Now, as you notice, you can really see those, and then we can do all sorts of things with them. For example, I can make them into a cloud. And do you notice here that the focus is on the interaction of the students and how the cloud changes as the answers are coming in, but students are still at the center of the process, and it's the interaction at the center of the process.
Yes, los estudiantes se mantienen en el centro de este proceso. En abrir la nube, como pueden ver ustedes, todas las palabras, verbos, o lo que los escriben se aparece en la pantalla.
It seems that many of the things are in Spanish, but the focus, it seems, is on interaction and the students. And this is one of the problems that we face when we're doing interactive lecturing. And you know, if we have the time, then we can take this and then discuss why the students, what other factors are influencing it. And therefore now it shows you how you can engage the students by doing this thing. And then I'll show you how to use the tool. Okay.
Yes, sir.
So this is a demonstration of how you can use one of the interactive tools that I'll talk about later. But what are some of the challenges of teaching online? One, the challenge of passive students who lack motivation. You know, students are sitting there, they don't want to do anything. Then need for resources. We have to rely on resources to teach online, and those take time to create. For example, before the pandemic, I don't think that we had those types of resources that are now available. Thank God now we have them. Then the challenge of encouraging collaboration. Sometimes if you ask students to collaborate, because if you want to do interactive lecturing, you know, you need to collaborate. It's hard sometimes to do it. And technical difficulty with online teaching tools. You know, the technical tools do not work all the time, and therefore you need to select ones that are easy to use. For example, there are a lot of other types of similar to Poll Everywhere, but I usually use it and use another one called Mentimeter because they seem to be the most stable according to my experience. Then the challenge of staying connected with students. You know, if I'm now lecturing to 55 students and then I don't know what they think, then it becomes hard for me to continue my lesson. And there are many other reasons. So those are some of the challenges. And to continue, research suggests that large classes at the university level create problems for instructors and students alike, many of which contributes to less effective teaching and learning. You know, what we're saying here is that the tools that we use, the way that we present the material influences the effectiveness of our teaching and the effectiveness of students' learning. Now, lecturing is still, I think, the most dominant form of teaching that we use at the university level. And therefore, when we have large classes, and therefore we have to think of how to make those classes more interactive to get the students to participate. And active teaching and active learning and involving students is really, in my opinion, and according to most of the research that I've read about the topic, are essential when you're teaching larger groups. Now, this is a model that one can use to organize a lecture so that it becomes interactive. I'm going to present it and then tell you where and how we can use the internet tools to really enhance the lectures. So, you know, this model says that we start the lesson by an introduction of 4 minutes, which could be activating students' prior knowledge, what they already know, and then asking them questions about it, followed by 10 minutes of lecturing, which is the presentation of the concept. Then we can ask a multiple choice question. I'll ask you to translate this, Dr. Houthi, but let me complete it.
Okay.
So you ask a multiple choice question.
Te voy a traducir ya cuando termine.
Ask the students to interact and answer and discuss the question, and finally get the answer. So the idea is that we take the first around 18 minutes of the lesson. It's divided into a short introduction to activate the students' prior knowledge. Then we give a lecture presentation of the concept for 10 minutes. However, we stop and ask a conceptual question. Then we ask the students to discuss possible answers and then solicit the answers. This can be done in a regular class, but we can also use it with tools, and I'll demonstrate how. Can you please translate, Dr. Houthi?
Yes, sir. El doctor Boujaoude le estaba comentando solo los desafíos que hemos enfrentado en forma global en la falta de herramientas y tiempo y cómo dar las clases en línea. Entonces, él lo ha mostrado anteriormente una link donde lo podemos trabajar con los estudiantes. Pero aquí también tiene un reloj de lo que él como nosotros lo podemos usar en nuestra clase y cómo lo podemos dividir el tiempo para que nuestras clases puedan ser más entendible, más interactivo. Entonces, él lo estaba comentando, si lo pueden ver ustedes, que dedica él 4 minutos para presentar de qué es lo que se va a tratar su clase y 10 minutos para la presentación de los conceptos en lo que van a ver los estudiantes. Y luego él, luego se lo pone como opción múltiple, ¿verdad? Preguntas para los estudiantes para que asegurar que ellos están entendiendo los conceptos que un docente lo presenta. También el doctor lo pone 2 minutos para que entre los mismos estudiantes pueden ellos responder, interactuar con los otros compañeros. Y al último, solicitar las respuestas de los estudiantes y dar un resumen sobre todo lo que han visto desde aquí hasta acá.
Okay.
Okay.
Now, this is repeated, as you notice, repeated 1, 2, 3 times. And then at the end, we have a conclusion and putting things together. Why am I proposing this model? And this is actually taken from a book about interactive lecturing. Now, first of all, students have short attention spans, maybe 15 minutes of attention span. Therefore, this way, if we use this way, then we're catering for the needs of the students, which is short attention span. Then we're breaking the lesson into different parts. If students now master the first part, then they will master the second and the third parts much more efficiently, especially in scientific subjects where the concepts are related to each other. And why we use conceptual multiple choice questions, it's because we want them to think. We don't want them to calculate and give numbers. We want them to think. Typically, if it is at the university level, those questions are not very easy questions. They are questions that require students to think. So
Okay.
this is the model. Yes, do you want to say anything?
Yes, sir. Let me get the rest of your circle because it's very interesting and I would like to translate. Como ustedes están viendo aquí en este gráfico, como el inicio de los 4 minutos de la introducción, ya él se presenta el concepto, se va repitiendo de aquí y se vuelve a repetir de aquí antes que lo da su conclusión de 4 minutos. Eso es como una sola clase. Él estaba platicando y era muy importante que es la razón porque él lo hace preguntas de opción múltiple. Lo hace preguntas en opción múltiple porque eso lo hace que los alumnos piensen. ¿Sí? Esa es la razón por qué lo hagan en esta forma. Y también dice que la atención de los estudiantes se puede perder en los primeros 15 minutos, ¿sí? Entonces, por eso lo tiene dividido para que no das tanto material en un solo 10 minutos, de los primeros 10 minutos de clase, hay que mantenerlo activo y que se van cambiando, que se va tomando interacción de los alumnos para asegurar que el concepto fue entendido. Okay, doctor.
Thank you. Now, this represents the ideal lecture. And then now the concept, those are just examples of what I mean concept questions. We don't need to talk about them now, but I can share the PowerPoint presentation with you and then it can be distributed. Or are you taping the session?
Yes, sir, we are.
And then you can share it with them and they can look at those questions to show you the types of questions that one uses in those types of lectures so that they work very quickly. The main important part is that it should focus on one concept and requires qualitative rather than quantitative answers. You don't want them to do quick calculations. you can, but you can design it so that it really requires students to interact with each other. Okay, this is another question of a multiple choice conceptual question. So the idea is that those questions, this is a short essay, conceptual questions, all those questions are meant to get the students thinking about the content matter that about which they are being taught, and therefore gets them to involve. This is in the whenever you have a class that is face to face. And now this is where the source of those questions, but this is where we can use online tools. And I'm going to use the same picture that we had there to demonstrate where we can use online tools in this process. Now, in the introduction, typically you need to activate prior knowledge, because according to theories of education, activating prior knowledge is essential for learning. And then maybe here you can use the poll everywhere, the one that I did. You can, rather than asking the question that I asked, you can ask them one question or two questions about the content matter, and they can answer. The idea is for them to think about the content and to remember what they have learned. There are other tools. One of the tools you're going to see is Google Forms. Another one is the poll everywhere. Now, here you need to check for understanding, when you ask the multiple choice questions, and therefore one needs to find a way to ask the students to check for their understanding of the concepts. Here you need the students to have the opportunity to discuss the answers to the questions. And finally, you need the students to, you want to check whether the students have learned. And though this is where the tools can be used. Activate prior learning, check understanding, give students opportunities to discuss, and then the post quiz. Now, when I say this is 50 minutes, the lesson does not have to be 50 minutes. I use 50 minutes because this is what we have at the American University of Beirut. However, the idea is that rather than teaching from here to the end without stopping and students are taking notes, you're going to break it into parts so that you ensure that the students have understood and build on it until you reach the end, even if the class is 1.5 hours. I've used this method in 1.5 hour lessons and longer lessons, but the thing is that the mere fact that you are breaking it also encourages students to be engaged in the lesson. Do you need to translate anything here, Dr.?
Yes, sir. Just a quick overview.
Yeah.
Lo estaba presentando el doctor Boujaoude, su gráfica de nuevo para que lo podamos usar herramientas virtuales. Y una de las cosas que quiere que los estudiantes hacen durante todo este ciclo, como ustedes ven aquí, es que los estudiantes están pensando sobre los conceptos, sobre contenido, y al mismo tiempo están desarrollando durante la clase conocimientos donde los estudiantes se mantienen enfocados. Y el último, en conclusión, sería opcional, pero sería bien si lo pueden hacer, por ejemplo, un quiz para asegurar de todo lo que ustedes hicieron en este desarrollo desde aquí en el reloj quedó bien entendido. Eso te va a hacer ver si la reacción que tienen con los estudiantes fue el lado positivo. El doctor Boujaoude lo ha usado esto con sus estudiantes en clases de 50 minutos, porque en Lebanon, en Beirut, así son las clases, pero también lo ha usado ese tipo de método en hora en 50 y ha tenido resultados muy positivos. Thank you, doctor.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, now how to engage students, at the beginning, and those are the tools that I'm going to demonstrate. We used Poll Everywhere. The Poll Everywhere you've already seen, and I show you how to use it. We're going to use something that is called Padlet. And then we're going to also, you've probably, if you're using Zooms, you know how to use breakout rooms. And then we're going to use Google Forms and the Padlet for giving quizzes. But at the same time, I'm going to demonstrate how you can use videos. Sometimes when you're teaching, you want to do a flipped classroom, and you need to probably tape your class and then show it to the students, tape a lecture and show it to the students before they come to class. So those are the 4 things that I will introduce. Now, using the tools, I'm going to start with Poll Everywhere. What is nice about Poll Everywhere is that it is incorporated in the PowerPoint presentations. You can use it. The Poll Everywhere is what I used at the beginning when you answered. It can be used to check students' prior knowledge. It can use conceptual questions to check for understanding. You can design the lessons. You can use them in breakout rooms and then ask the students to think about the questions. And you can give a post-class quiz using the Poll Everywhere. All those can be demonstrated by Poll Everywhere. And let me show you how to do that, okay? Okay, sorry. Now, as you notice here, Poll Everywhere is part of my PowerPoint presentation. I can download it, and then it really connects to the let me move this so that you can see it. Okay, so you see Poll Everywhere here. When I go to the link to the Poll Everywhere, and I'll show you how, and then you can say download it on PowerPoint. It sticks to PowerPoint, and then you can, when it sticks to PowerPoint, then you can use it to really like here. Can you see the screen?
Yes, we can.
Okay.
Yes, it's very clear.
Okay, Poll Everywhere, and then you see activity. Okay, let me move this. Okay. Now, those are some of the activities that can be used by Poll Everywhere. Just a second, new activity. You see here, you can use multiple choice questions. You can use a word cloud. All those you can use it for large gatherings. You can do also see this. So the question that I asked, you can do whatever you want with it. If you look at all of them, see all those things can be done by using Poll Everywhere. You can use here a multiple choice question. What I use myself is untitled open-ended questions. So when you click on it, then it shows you how to incorporate it in the PowerPoint screen itself. I think you need to experiment with it to know how to do it. For example, if I need to do ranking, I can do ranking here also. If I have, let's say, if I have a project that requires me to rank. There are all sorts of things. You can use it for small discussions. You can use it to visual. For example, if you're teaching geography and you want the students to really point out to certain things. Poll Everywhere is actually a very versatile tool that can be used to do all sorts of things. And as I said earlier, I said in my, it is basically a tool that can help us really activate students' prior knowledge, answer conceptual questions, use it in breakout rooms for students to ask questions and discuss their answers, And you can use it to give a post-class quiz, since it contains a multiple choice questions. The way you do it is that you just go to the poll everywhere and select what you want to do. It is integrated in your PowerPoint, and then you can use it directly. Do you want to say something, Dr.?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you. Lo que el doctor Boujaoude él estaba comentando era entrar donde dice ahí en la pantalla, Poll Everywhere. Y esa es una forma que nos estaba comentando para ver los conocimientos previos de los estudiantes, para ver cómo se encuentran, cómo están entendiendo, sobre si se acuerdan las gráficas anteriores. Entonces, aquí dice que lo puedes agregar a tu misma presentación de PowerPoint y al mismo tiempo lo hace que los estudiantes están pensando, pueden generar tanto las preguntas múltiples, pero también preguntas abiertas para que los estudiantes puedan interactuar sobre las respuestas, ¿verdad? Si él lo hace la pregunta, los estudiantes pueden responder. Si un alumno tiene una manera de ver las cosas o otro alumno trae otra versión. Entonces, él recomienda mucho de usar lo que dice el Poll Everywhere, que es una muy buena herramienta para sus clases en línea y se mantiene sus estudiantes activados, interactuados. Thank you.
One of the good things about the poll everywhere and similar types of tools is that even if you have 200, 300 in your lecture, then almost all the students either have a computer or have a cell phone, and they can respond and interact with you to answer multiple choice questions, open-ended questions, to be ranked certain things, and all sorts of things. Now, Google Forms is another way by which you can also activate prior knowledge, but at the same time, you can use it for quizzes. If you want to give a quiz at the beginning of the lecture so that you also activate prior knowledge, then this is a very good tool. And then what I did is that I taped a video of myself explaining how it is done using the ScreencastoMatic. Sorry. Using the tool ScreencastoMatic, and then this will help you really prepare the class properly. Just 1 second. Okay. To go to Google Forms, you need to have a Gmail account. Then it becomes easy. You open Google, then you go to the Google Apps, click on it, you see Drive, click on it, then under Drive you open New. This will take you to Google Forms, which appear here. Now this is the beginning of Google Form. So you first start by putting the title, let's call it Survey 1. Here you have a place where you can describe it if you want. Then you can start by entering questions. The first question would be, let's say, my name is, and then it's a short answer question. Then you add it here when we publish it. You can add another question. And if you notice, you can add multiple choice questions. You can ask questions that require a paragraph. You can ask a linear scale, multiple choice grid, and so on. When you're done entering your question, you can preview your form. And then if you're satisfied with your form and you don't need to change anything in it, then you close this and go back to the form. Then you click on Send. This then gives you the link. And if you copy this link and share it with your students, if you're using Zoom, for example, or by email, then they can access the Google form to respond. So here, what you can do is that if you want to give a quiz, online quiz at the beginning of the class, and if you want to give online quiz at the end of the class, you can use Google Forms. You know, you send this link to the students, the students answer the quiz, and the answers come straight into your screen, and then you can show it to the students, you can discuss it with them, and so on. And if you want them to answer later, you can set it up so that they can answer later as well. So the Google Forms is a way to also interact, to get the students involved in the lesson, but you can also collect data on the students, and you can use it as a way to give quizzes to the students or exams to the students. Do you want to say anything, Dr.?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Como lo estaba explicando el doctor Boujaoude, estaba explicando la forma en Google Forms, cómo lo pueden hacer nosotros, por ejemplo, los quizzes o exámenes para los estudiantes. Pero no dijo que lo podemos entrar donde dice ScreencastoMatic y lo podemos grabar nuestra voz y al mismo tiempo explicar a los estudiantes, por ejemplo, cómo entra, cómo agarra el link, cómo responde. Puede ser opción múltiple, puede ser preguntas cortas, largas, y al mismo tiempo lo que hacen en Google Forms, se junta información de los estudiantes y las respuestas y puedes saber si van bien o van mal. Todo lo que pones en un examen, por ejemplo, si haces una pregunta, puedes poner cuál sería de A, B o C, si es opción múltiple, cuál de las respuestas sería correcta. Entonces, lo puedes pedir también en Google Forms, ¿verdad? ¿Cuál es la respuesta correcta para que se pueda generar ya al último la calificación final de sus estudiantes? Y el archivo se quede ahí grabado para que lo puedan usar en uso futuro. Thank you, Doctor.
So this is, okay, so this is Google Forms. The first one, poll everywhere, this is Google Forms. Now, this is to tell you, you can check prior knowledge. You can use it also in Google Rooms. And this is, you can even prepare quizzes or questions for each breakout room separately and send it to them. And then you give a post-class quiz. The post-class quiz, you know, you can do it so that you can correct it yourself. You can correct it yourself rather than students seeing it. And you can give an assignment, and then the students can send you the assignment. You can, all those are possible by using the Google Forms. Now, the next tool that I want to demonstrate is the Padlet. And the Padlet, I'm going to show you what it is and maybe very quickly ask you to answer and then show you what to do with it. Okay. I designed this before class. And now when I share, it gives me a link. I copy the link. Okay. Then I can put the link in the chat. And then to everyone, send it to everybody. Click on it, please. And then you can start writing under those things. Click on it and start answering. What are the advantages of interactive lecturing? What are the disadvantages?
Ok. Por favor, si aquí en el chat, si lo pueden hacer un clic en el link que mandó el doctor Boujaoude.
You know,
Yes,
you
sir.
notice that people have started answering and I'm approving it. Because in Padlet, what's nice about it is that you can set it up to approve or disapprove, because you don't want students to send whatever things. Okay. Okay. And then one other thing is that now you notice how you're interacting with me, you're engaged in what I'm doing. Okay, and this is very easy to set up. I don't want to, you see the idea, but let me show you how to set it up, because it becomes very easy for you. Now, if I go to Google, okay, just a second. Okay. If I, let me close it. What I did, I have and those are all free, by the way. No, you don't have to pay money. I did sign in, and then I sign in. Okay, you see, this is the one that I shared with you. What you can do is that make your own Padlet. Make a Padlet, and then you can select how to do it. You want to, it's just a wall of words. I decided to do a grid myself, and you can do a shelf, and you could do all sorts of things. And the same thing, there is a link that, as you should notice, there is a link that you share with your students, and they start being involved in the process. The idea is that another way by which you can involve the students in the teaching, learning process that you're doing, and also several things about the Padlet. First of all, I can require the tool for you to see your names. I can ask the tool to give me the opportunity to see your names, and therefore, I can save it and then see who out of the class participated, who did not participate. I can decide to give it to you for a week so that you can work on it outside of the class, and therefore it is another way by which you can involve the students in the process. So this is the Padlet. Okay. The Padlet is a very versatile tool, and I use it a lot to really first of all, for students to answer questions, and sometimes for students to comment on each other's answers. You know, I can put something and then ask the students, this is the answers of the students. What do you think? Is it correct, not correct, and so on. Then this is the Padlet. Now, the last tool that I want to show you is the ScreencastoMatic. But before I show you, I want to show you what I did with it. Now, this is a summary of what we've been doing that I taped on the Padlet.
An interactive lecture.
Sorry.
An interactive lecture.
Can you see it?
Organized to ensure that students.
Yes, sir. I'm still seeing your circle, the 50 minutes.
Yeah.
Students have the required prior knowledge. We need to check for students' understanding, and also to help students consolidate learning. Therefore, we organize a 50-minute session as follows. First, we have a short time to introduce the lesson for students to show that they have the prior knowledge. Here we can use poll everywhere Google Forms, or Padlet. Then we have a lecture for around 10 minutes. And the length of the lecture is made in such a way to consider student attention span. Of course, it can be a little bit longer than 10 minutes or shorter, but the idea is here to take into consideration the student's attention span. Following this, and to check for students' understanding, we can ask a conceptual question, give the students a few minutes to discuss the answer, then solicit answers. Here, you can use breakout rooms to allow students to work in small groups to discuss the answers. Then you solicit the answers to ensure that they have understood the material. This process of lecturing, asking questions, allowing students to answer questions is repeated several times, as you can see from the cycle, and then breaking the rest of the lecture into portions that are manageable by the students.
I just wanted to share with you this because it allows you to really tape a lesson when you're sitting. It's like you're talking and it tapes it. You don't need any tools or any. And the way to do it is you can use it in flipped or blended learning and drive students' conversations. You can show it to students and then discuss it. Now the way to do it, it's called ScreencastoMatic, and I will just very quickly, this is the way to do it. See, if you put ScreencastoMatic, this is what you get. And then you launch the free recorder, it records it and then saves it on your computer, and then you use it in whatever way you want. So if you want to use flipped learning, because it's one of the ways by which you make the classes interactive, then ScreencastoMatic is a very useful tool to use. I want to, do you want to say anything, Dr. Wooten?
Yes, sir.
1 minute.
Yes, sir.
Go ahead.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
El doctor Boujaoude estaba hablando sobre dos herramientas más, el Padlet.com y el ScreencastoMatic. En el Padlet.com, esa es una forma, o es una herramienta, ¿vea? Donde lo podemos ver los nombres de los estudiantes, lo que tú pones para ver cuáles estudiantes participaron en su clase. También, a su vez, puedes enviar una tarea o unas preguntas para que lo hagan en su casa. Él la quería mencionar que de lo que es el Padlet.com, lo que es ScreencastoMatic, es completamente gratuito, no hay ni un costo para nadie. Le estaba comentando el doctor que de ScreencastoMatic puedes grabar su voz y lo puedes usar en varias formas, tanto para ofrecer las reglas que tienen ustedes en clase o cómo las clases lo vas a estar dando, y también para ofrecer a los estudiantes tutoriales, ¿verdad? Por ejemplo, si no lo podemos en línea o algo sucede, pues igual lo podemos mandar nuestra voz en un tutorial. Thank you, doctor.
Thank you. So this is the name, ScreencastoMatic. It's very easy. You just put this name, you get the, it is menu driven. It tells you start and you start, and then it records everything that you're doing. And it is very good quality, very good quality taping. Now I want to finish the lecture by really summarizing, if you will, the 5 basic elements of effective learner-centered instruction teaching, and those are all included in what we are talking about. The first very important element is activating prior knowledge. You know, this is there is a psychologist whose name is Isabel. He said, determine students' prior knowledge and work accordingly, then understanding takes place. So what we need to do is that we need to activate prior knowledge and ask students about it. And that's why in the presentation, I said we can use whether Poll Everywhere, we can use the Padlet, we can use Google Forms to activate prior knowledge. So this is activating of prior knowledge. The second element is acquiring knowledge. Acquiring knowledge, in the second step of the cycle, you notice that I said break down the lesson into smaller portions, because what happens if you teach for 50 minutes, then the first 10 or 15 minutes would be efficient, the rest will not be. And then focus on the big picture rather than on the details. The details will come later, but the big picture has to be understood by the students. Then the next is understanding knowledge. How do you ensure that students understand? You notice that in the cycle that I showed you, we said they give lecture, then they ask a question, then the students work together, and then they answer, and the professor checks for understanding. Because if you do not check for understanding, then the rest of the lecture would not be efficient. The next point is using knowledge. Teaching content without helping students to use that knowledge would not be efficient because students will forget it. And that's why we said use conceptual problems that requires them to think. Then they will be using the knowledge that you've taught them. And finally, reflecting on knowledge, and then let the students think about the quality of the knowledge they have learned. Let them do some concept mapping. Maybe you can use a Padlet here for them to reflect on their knowledge and then relate concepts to each other. So those are 5 elements that are, I think, at the heart of what I'm talking about. However, what we did was that we integrated tools from the internet, from technology, to enhance those types of basic elements.
Okay.
Do you want to translate, Doctor?
Yes, sir. And then this will be the end, and I will open the rest of the moments for questions. Por el último, ya empezamos con las preguntas. Si tienes una pregunta, al favor de subirlo en el chat. Él estaba dando un resumen sobre los 5 elementos básicos de la enseñanza que le estaba enseñando a nosotros sobre los herramientas que lo estaba usando como el Padlet, ScreencastoMatic, Poll Everywhere, etc. Que es muy importante, número 1, activar conocimientos previa.
I'll put them so that if you want to remember them, activate.
Yes, sir.
I'll put them here. Yeah.
Okay.
So this is
Okay.
This is the second is this one.
Sí. Entender los conocimientos. Adquirir los conocimientos. Usando los conocimientos. Todo eso lo está enseñando. Es para asegurar que los estudiantes están comprendiendo su clase en todos los sentidos, que se pueden reflexionar, que se pueden asegurar que los alumnos a base de quizzes que realmente están captando. Si los clases son pequeños, pues hay más fase de aprendizaje, pero si sus grupos son grandes, esos son elementos que lo podemos usar para ellos. Okay,
Thank you,
Doctor. Let me get to that.
Thank you very much for the translation.
Oh, you're very welcome. I'm getting quite a few feedback. They like the tools that you offered during your presentation, Dr. Boujaoude, and the conference they really enjoyed. They only have one question.
Yeah.
How do you add the student?
Add
How do you
student.
get, yes, how do you add the student to Padlet during class? For example,
Oh, okay.
if you
It's
have
the
your
same
student,
thing. Yeah, it's the same thing that we did with the poll everywhere. There's a link, and then you send it to all the students, and the students start answering. And then if I want, there is a place where I say include the name, and their name appears. That's all.
okay.
So they're all the same. You share the link, and the students who are in class can answer whatever questions in the Padlet.
Ok, dijo el doctor que es muy fácil, lo único que tiene que hacer es igual que Poll Everywhere. ¿Te acuerdas que generó un link? Entonces, ese mismo link lo envían a sus estudiantes y como ellos van respondiendo y contestando, se va apareciendo los nombres de sus estudiantes.
I want to say good evening to Dr. Jose Sakhloul. I saw him there.
La última pregunta dice que cuántos estudiantes, how many students have you had in your largest class and what problems did you have with them?
You know, the using the poll everywhere, I've done it with 200 students.
Que lo ha hecho
Yeah.
con más de 200 estudiantes. Esa fue la clase más grande que él ha tenido.
No,
Durante su plática dijo que pueden llegar hasta 300 estudiantes. Yes,
yeah.
sir?
Because what you do is that you share the link and then they answer, and then, but the important thing is that what you saw, the like word cloud or whatever, becomes the stimulus for them to discuss ideas that they want to discuss. But the others, I've used the Padlet, for example, with about 35 students and around 40 students. The Google Forms, actually, I've used it to collect data, because I sent it to a large number of students to collect data, because you can use it with a small number as well as with a large number.
Thank you. We need to stop now. Before we end, Doctor, I would like to present you with a certificate of your, I hope that everybody can see this. It's
Thank you.
talking about AMEA, Mexican Association of Agriculture Education. And it's offering you a certificate thanking you for your conference that you gave today. And we really appreciate it. It was a big help, and I would like to congratulate you. This was a wonderful conference, and we're very grateful for the time that you gave us also.
I want to thank you for the translation, because I think without the translation, it wouldn't have been at all useful. Thank you very, very much. And thank you everybody for attending, and have a good afternoon. I'll have a good night myself. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Doctor.
Thank you.
Adiós a todos y muchas gracias por asistir del día de hoy.
Okay.
Goodbye, Doctor.
Okay, I will share the PowerPoint with you, and then maybe if you want to use it to send it to people, you can always send it to people.
I would really love that. Thank you very much. Que nos va a enviar el video.